Okay, this is JD, part 3. Okay, because of things that happened with my mother and my older sister, I was too old to go home. I was not going to go home. My older sister was a year older than me. Because she was in New York when the state came and took us away, and she was living with my grandmother, the state didn't come and get her. So she ended up living with my mother, and like 14, 15 years old or something like that, 16, the New York State emancipated her. She went and lived with her boyfriend, was having kids, and all this crap. In other words, my mother could not handle a teenager. And I was a teenager. So the state of Connecticut said I would never go home. And I did until I was 18. I actually could. Uh, Basically, to make it happen, because in the state of Connecticut, if you're a male, you can't get off the state until you're 21. So to make it to happen, what they did was they sent me to live with my aunt in January when I was 17 and a half. And I lived with them until I became 18 years old. And because I was in New York, and New York rules says 18, at 18 I was able to go home. So basically my whole life that I remember as a child, it was in foster care. At home, when I was home with my mother, I had to help her. It's one of those stories where, the oldest son works, and I was in school. I had plans to go to college and join the Navy and stuff, but because I had to work, I couldn't spend the amount of time I need for studying. Luckily, I had a brain where 90% of the work I could do, I did in my head. And math, I was so fast at math, I couldn't write a problem down fast enough. Something that would take people a couple hours to do, I would do in 15 minutes. Highly intelligent I was. English is my weak point, though. Remember that. It always is and always will be. And I am the worst speller. I graduated from high school in Levittown, New York, Levittown Memorial, and went into the Navy. Joined the Navy. I took the battery test. GCT ARI combination is astronomical. It's up there, way up there. I was actually selected to go to Annapolis, but because I was 20, before June 30th, June 4th, I became 20. And the reason I was 20 is because as a foster child in the state of Connecticut, you're not allowed to skip grades. Even though the schools recommended that I skip grades and all that stuff, except for that one junior high where that principal was against foster kids, and she was against foster kids. They recommended I skip grades. The state of Connecticut said foster children are not allowed to skip grades, so I never did. When I got in to live with my mother over 18, I could have graduated at 19 and 11th grade, but I decided to stay in because I knew I wasn't going to go to college. The draft was really heavy then, because we're talking 67, 68. And so I stayed in high school, and I did my senior year. That is your social year. You have senior prom and all the senior stuff. It was probably the best school years. And I'll tell you, 12th grade, don't speed your kid past that. It is a social. That is your real social year. So in 68, I graduated from Levittown Memorial High School, and I joined the Navy, and I took a battery of tests. But because of my age, I was selected to go to Annapolis, but there was somebody who was first on the alternate list, and he found out that I was over 20 by 20-some days. He wrote his congressman or senator. Next thing I know, I'm kicked off the list. Each state gets so many people to send to Annapolis, but this person's government official refused to use that. And he had nobody. The state of New York had already picked the maximum people, so they couldn't put me, because the state of New York was going to put me on, but they had already picked. And it wasn't fair to those people. So because of it, I believe it was a senator, I'm not sure, or a congressman, because of their stupidity, I didn't go to Annapolis. So I really do not have a fond of our government officials anyway. He don't believe in using them, I was told, and this person, because this person qualified, and because I had to get a waiver, he goes, I don't. I lost my waiver and I didn't go. Hey, that's life. I helped a lot of people study in the Navy and get into NESEP and other educational programs. But me, I was always just too old, too old, too old. Always needed just by a couple of days. June 4th. If I'd have born July 1st, it would have been a whole different story. But June 4th. So I did a career in the Navy. I think actual time's like 24 and some odd years, but constructive time and everything else, it goes to 26 and a half years. I retired as a chief in the United States Navy. Notice I said chief. Best compliment I ever got in my life was from a captain and admiral when I retired, that I was one of the few real chiefs they met. Highly educated through the Navy, advanced electronics. I have enough electronics to get a degree. I have taken courses in computer operations, software. I know satellite communications inside out. I know aviation electronics inside out. Like I said earlier, computers are tinker toys. They're actually the most simplest things to work on. They're so easy, it's ridiculous. Anyone who thinks they can work on a computer is a major accomplishment is someone who has no comprehension of how electronics really, really, really works, and so many things there is in electronics. So I did my time in the Navy. I retired, and from there I started working in a factory that made boxes. And oh, I have a high respect for factory people. That is the most tedious, backbreaking work you could have. And then district manager for Namco, well, then it was Edison Brothers, wanted to hire me, talk to me, and I turned that job down and went to work as a store manager for an arcade. I repaired games, fixed games, trained people, managers, and stuff like that. And that's where I've been since. My educational level, I'll get to that next. Thank you.